Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host Nacho, and today I'm joined by
Thomas
and
RJ.
And we are going to be discussing reasons why you should buy a Hublot. 3 reasons.
Three reasons.
each.
So 9 reasons.
9 reasons. This was your idea, RJ.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a fun one.
Even our camera guy's laughing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
Hublot is a brand that it's made fun of, I think, a lot of years now, for a lot of years.
That's what we're here to do today. No.
Well, there
No,
are some
no.
reasons to buy Hublot, and but yeah, let's keep it lighthearted and go ahead.
Okay, perfect. But before, let's get into wrist check. Thomas, what is on your wrist today?
Surprise, surprise. It's a
Rolex.
Rolex. No, it's a VPC Type 37HW in Dove Gray.
Perfect. Very nice. Very nice. And RJ, what about you?
Did you collect all 3 versions?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah. I've got special cereals as well.
Cool.
Ooh, nice. RJ, what is on your wrist?
Seiko or Grand Seiko.
Oh, okay.
It's double
I
branded.
didn't recognize
It's double
it.
signed, so I'm
It is a
using
Seiko Grand
and
Seiko.
Grand Seiko. It's an earlier model. I think it's 2000s, and it's a SBGR023 from the top of my head.
Take your word for it.
Yeah. So it's 37 millimeters automatic movement with a closed case back, and indeed double signed.
Very nice. Very nice. I think that era of Grand Seiko, Seiko Grand Seiko, is very underrated. I think that these are
Yeah.
really great watches. Yeah.
I think the size is nice. It's a tad bit bigger than a Explorer in 36, and so I think it's a nice piece.
Yeah.
Black
Really,
dial.
really cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. And I'm wearing a Seiko as well.
Oh, there you go.
But not a Grand Seiko, just a Seiko. This is a 7002 with a bit of wabi-sabi, I think, that kind of thing. And it's a bit of an older one. It's from 1993, and it's seen some action.
It's Sabi got wabied.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
He wears it with pride,
multiple
though.
times.
It's a good looking.
It's a nice looking watch, right?
patina.
So I have to say, for full disclosure, and people have read about this when I've written about it. But it might not be the most genuine 30 years of hard labor put into this watch. I think there's some elements of it that are a little bit more disingenuous. Namely,
Really?
I think the bezel. I don't know. When I got it, it was like this. Was actually it had a aftermarket dial in hands, so that looked really shockingly new compared to the rest of the condition, which I then had replaced with some suitably worn out hands and
So it's
the dial
relict.
as well. It's relict, I believe. Yeah, it's that, exactly. For those who are familiar with the world of guitars, it's a bit of a relict watch, as far as I know. And I don't know much about this one, but I still really enjoy it. So.
But talking about good-looking watches,
Yes, let's get
Hublot.
into some Hublot action, and give some reasons why people should consider the brand. Should we start with you?
What I always find interesting is that the brand was founded a long time ago. Well, it's a relatively new brand. So
70s, right? Late
1980.
70s.
I think the founder, Carlo Crocco, exactly. He left a bigger group, Bindi Group, Italian group. The Braille, for example, is part of that group.
Oh, okay.
He left that group to start his own brand, and his own brand was called MDM Genève. And his first watch was called a Hublot. And then later on, it changed that Hublot is the brand, and the MDM was one of the
models. Yeah.
one of the models that we perhaps now know as the classic Fusion.
Yes.
And Hublot means porthole.
Porthole,
right?
yeah. It was inspired by the yachts he saw in Monaco, I guess, or somewhere there.
Scheveningen.
Yeah, Scheveningen, for example, or somewhere. What I find interesting is one of the first watches that had fusion, like steel and rubber straps. And in the 80s and 90s, he carried the brand along. And for a long time, I think, even in the 90s, you saw watches with Hublot on the dial, but also MDM Genève at 6 o'clock. And then in 2004, Jean-Claude Biver came to the brand. And 1 year later, he introduced the Big Bang.
Right.
And I think that's where not things went wrong. I think that was a big bang for the brand. I think that's where the brand became famous for by a bigger or larger audience. Then in the end, Hublot was purchased by the LVMH group, of course. It's a brand that people make fun of. I think it's also a bit of a running gag in the watch communities here and there. I have to say, I also always thought, at least with the earlier big bangs, it's a bit of a fashion thing, a bit of a all the different colors, different straps, colors, and so on.
Special editions.
And I think they have many limited editions, but that's also their shtick. So it's not something they're shy of. And but once I visited the manufacture, it's not bad what they do over there. They have their own movements. I think they make pretty decent watches. So I thought, well, why not come up with 3 reasons to consider at least Hublot? If you can look past all the fun making and
sure. And I think, to be honest, there is also like the one of the main factors of why a Hublot might not be something that most of us can consider, even though there are some more sort of entry-level models that are around the sub 10K mark. But typically it's the price, right? I mean, the price point of the brand is definitely up there with some bigger names, and there's quite a bit of range.
They make some pretty expensive watches.
Absolutely.
But their entry is below 10K for sure.
True.
I also have to say that some of their advertising campaigns were pretty remarkable, like the one with Bernie Ecclestone. I think it was a bit before your time, but you know it.
I know.
He was robbed of his watch,
of
his Hublot watch, and then they show him with a black eye, basically beaten up, for a Hublot commercial. Rolex could have done that.
I don't think it would be within the brief, but no, but cool. But I think you raise a lot of good points with Hublot. I think the main thing for me that I want to express before we get into some reasons is that I think the first impression for a lot of people getting into watches of Hublot is that it's kind of the butt of the joke. But I think that, like you were saying, there's a lot of there's some great history behind it. There's been some big names that have had their influence on the brand, and also when you really look into it, I mean, for me, when I got into watches, that was kind of what I was hearing online, was just like some of the jokes about Hublot and that kind of thing, and the jokes that seem a little bit tired these days. And then when you first see the watches in person, you realize that there's a lot of very impressive watchmaking going into them, right? So I think that's something that if people have basically heard the jokes and not really looked into it, I would encourage people to look into it.
And recently, or not super recently, they changed CEOs. So the current CEO is Julien Tornare. He came from Zenith, very qualified guy. I spoke with him earlier this year, and he's full on Hublot these days. Of course, that's also his role, but I think he has some pretty good ideas. He spoke about a relaunch of the Big Bang, which was presented at Watches and Wonders.
Anniversary model.
Beautiful booth, anniversary model. Looked very close to the original model of 20 years ago. So let's see what they will come up with. But first, 3 reasons.
Yes.
Each.
Yeah.
There might be overlap because we didn't synchronize.
No, we have not. We have not discussed this. I think that was a good idea.
We are not aligned.
But we already had extras. We already surpassed the 3 each.
Yeah, so I have a bit more because if there's
wow, you guys are really prepped.
I have 17.
17.
No, kidding.
God. And the next CEO of Hublot will be Thomas. He will no longer be wearing VPCs. He'll be wearing Hublots from now on.
Well, I'll be
one on each wrist like Maradona.
Double wristing.
Perfect. No, but let's start with your first reason, RJ. Hit us with it.
I think they had Hublot did a lot of nice innovations. One of the innovations was to come up with scratch-resistant gold.
Oh yeah,
and it's called Magic Gold because it doesn't scratch. And I could find one Big Bang with it. It has an interesting and hefty price tag of over, I think, 42,000 euros or dollars. I think it's euros. There's a Big Bang made of Magic Gold, and you cannot scratch that gold because it's a fusion between ceramic and gold. And the downside for me a little bit is that the color of the gold is a bit off.
Yeah,
so it's a bit mustardy, right?
Greenish mustard. But if you want a gold watch that will not can't scratch and will look the same in years from now, I think the Hublot Magic Gold is one of the. I think it's the only watch in gold that doesn't scratch out there.
Could be.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Cool. Nice. Thomas, your first reason.
My first reason is that
Magic
actually,
gold.
it's not with gold. It's no, it's different. It's that actually much of the hate is coming from Hublot being explicit about things that the entire watch industry does anyway. So I think one moment where the brand kind of rubbed people the wrong way was when Jean-Claude Biver went on the record to state we do all these limited editions because that's how people work. You have to keep them hungry. And
The
then he
FOMO.
added, you have to keep them frustrated, which if you read that as a watch enthusiast, I mean, it's a bit cringe, right? It's a bit like, oh, come on, really?
Yeah.
And it's so in line with what we think of Hublot, like, oh yeah, it's fabricated scarceness and that sort of stuff, scarcity, sorry. But in reality, when you think about it, all watch brands operate that way. And it's just how human psyche works. It's just, and Jean-Claude Biver went on the record to say it, which is a bit awkward for us watch enthusiasts. I think more because we know that it's true than because it's such a wrongful thing to do for Hublot.
He's saying the quiet bit out loud, right?
Exactly.
That's
so
it.
I think in that sense, much of the sort of antipathy people have towards the brand should really be applied to the entire watch industry. But it's just that Hublot is so explicit about it.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of negates the value of the
So they're
some of
being
the
transparent.
yeah, probably.
It's very un-Swiss.
Well,
Yeah.
you say it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Cool.
So that's my first reason.
Nice. It's a good one. I think for me, one of the big reasons is just it's also leaning into that a little bit, and it's just the variety. There's so much available, and there's been so many different versions out there that I think that even like once you're able to sort of look past that sort of also kind of manufactured, negativity around it, I think that there is just about a model that could appeal to just about anybody out there, right? Like it's when you really dig into it and you really look at some models, there can be stuff that even ranges into what you might consider understated in some way. So, it doesn't always have to be these big, giant 45 millimeter sapphire cases, but there are also like I think people somewhat underestimate the range that the brand has been capable of, especially looking back sort of 20 years. And I think that combined with the quality of what they do is it means that there's a lot of models out there that could appeal to just about everybody. So.
You could even pull off a smaller classic Fusion as a dress watch, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, some of those older ones with the integrated rubber strap and even a gold case. I mean, it's
weird. A sports watch with a rubber strap.
Absolutely.
And it could work as a dress watch.
Yeah.
It's a bit,
It
could.
Cool. RJ, what about your second reason?
Oh, let me look at my list. I have Nico Leonard. I have famous for bashing Hublot, but he's a good guy, so I don't. Classic Fusion, like you mentioned. I think that's a proper watch. It's a super cool. We had the green dial version here.
42.
1 year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
And I quite enjoyed wearing it, to be honest, especially the 42. It's also in 45 from the top of my head.
And also there's also a smaller size, which I believe is either 38 or 37. Yeah.
But it wears nicely on the wrist. It wears very thin. Just a good watch. And some Big Bangs I like. I'm not into the spirit of Big Bang and those kind of models. But if you're a bit more conservative, I think the Classic Fusion can really work well. Like you say, like a dress watch. They once did a model that I truly, truly liked. They did it together with Berluti. So the shoe brand. So the dial was made of the leather of Berluti.
Oh, yeah.
And that looks really cool.
Yeah, that's kind of the like what I meant by range is that there are so many of them out there. Like it really was that sort of approach of like flooding the field and doing so many things. I mean, most recently The latest thing to kind of hit my inbox was this concrete or cement or concrete model, and it's you can't fault them for being creative, right? I mean, it's cool stuff. Cool. So Thomas, your second reason.
My second reason is that the quality is actually quite high. And you already mentioned they have some in-house calibers and stuff like that. But if I'm looking particularly at how they look and feel, so the exterior, the cases, the bracelets, that sort of stuff, it's often quite intricate, quite complicated constructions, many layers, different materials, screws going through everything, and it's not simple cases. But the level of machining and the quality of those parts is really high, and the finishing as well. And if you handle these watches and you look at them closely, you really do get the feeling that you're dealing with a high-end product, I think. And that's
man, this podcast is not sponsored.
No, it could be.
How can you say these things?
Maybe we should get it sponsored before we air it. No, but honestly, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I agree. I mean, there's it's not just like those watches aren't just put up there with the price that they are for fun or trying to be a gimmick. I mean, there's really like,
I think they're still expensive though.
Yeah, true. But that's just luxury positioning.
There goes
right?
the advertising.
Yeah, I have to balance it a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Just like that. Cool. So my second reason, I would say, there's something enjoyable to being a contrarian. I think if everybody says zig, it's nice to zag. And I think in a way, like when everybody's or the general public, because I wouldn't say everybody. I think most people are fine with Hublot, but when a lot of people are kind of beating this dead horse of being a little bit negative about the brand, I think it's probably quite fun to say, hey, yeah, this is my Hublot, and I think that there is a certain satisfaction there to kind of swimming upstream that probably owning a Hublot gives you. So
I had the same point actually, that it shows that you're sort of independent of groupthink. If you're a watch enthusiast and you wear a Hublot.
Well, I even wrote it down. If you don't care about what others have to say about you or your watch, that's fine.
Yeah, being a bit of a contrarian and going like, hey, you know what? I like this, and I'm buying it not because everybody thinks it's cool. I'm buying this just because I think it's cool, and it's for me. And that's ultimately how people should think about these kinds of purchases.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, if you see something you like, and say you don't carry the baggage of having seen all these memes and having heard all these opinions,
just show up with your Big Bang at the watch get together.
Exactly in Saint Moritz. Yeah.
There you go.
It's a good life. Cool, perfect. So that's my second reason.
Nice. I have a third reason.
You have a third?
Yeah, I have a couple, but I mentioned already a few. Well, I try to play golf, and I say that very deliberately. Because it's a tough game.
Right.
There's a very cool watch to support that. Well, I tried the Tag Heuer connected golf watch last weekend. And that works, of course. You see the map and so on. But in the end, you would just want to keep track of your score, right? And there is the Big Bang Unico golf watch.
Uh-huh.
And you can keep track of the hits, or the strokes you do per hole. Mm-hmm. And count the number of points in total that you collected in those 18 holes.
Is it because I don't really...
It's mechanical. So you push a button and then it just adds the
Oh, cool.
strokes. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
good.
interesting.
And I think it works very, not simple, but the use is simple.
Yeah.
So there's no complexity around it.
I wonder how similar it is to, and we've spoken about this one on the podcast before, is that Cartier Pasha Golf watch.
I don't know that one.
It has like 4 pushers. It's a very crazy looking thing, but
probably didn't work as good as the Hublot one.
No.
There was another one called, it was a brand, I don't know if they're still around, Jereman and Stubby. Doesn't ring a bell?
No.
They also had a golf watch, and I think it worked similar. You push a button, it just increases the number on a separate aperture on the dial. But yeah, this is a cool watch for golf players.
Yeah. Cool. Very nice. Thomas, your third reason.
My third reason is that Hublot kind of rules the modern but not weird category. Now, if you think of it from a design perspective,
I love that.
it's-
Modern but not weird.
yeah, no, but honestly, a lot of modern, very sort of modern watch brands, they tend to look very convoluted, very sort of far-fetched, and a bit like, oh yeah, you found a different way, but why?
Yeah.
Just to be different, you know. And I think Hublot writes the balance between having a very modern aesthetic, yet being somehow sort of understandable to your mind's eye as a watch. And I think they write that balance really well. So they're more sort of forward watches. They could be worn by stormtroopers on Star Wars, for instance.
Like the Orlinsky.
Exactly.
Very
Yeah.
futuristic.
Yeah, but it's futuristic, but it's still
a watch.
Yeah, it's futuristic,
Yeah.
rooted in watchmaking
Do you
tradition.
have an example of a watch that goes into the other direction?
Yeah, I think MB&F or Urwerk,
Yeah.
for instance, they go for, and that's cool in its own way.
Yeah.
But I think Hublot it kind of sits a little bit to the left of that. Basically, it's a little bit more traditional,
Yeah.
a little bit easier on the palate, perhaps.
Traditional modernity as opposed to like avant-garde.
And I think very few watch brands have such a clear visual aesthetic, basically a visual identity as Hublot in that specific niche. So I think that's quite good.
True. Cool. Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. My third reason is I think going a little bit beyond what you were saying about quality. I think that Hublot has some watches that are just really impressive from a watchmaking perspective. Like from just a purely mechanical point of view. One of the ones that I remember seeing recently when the boutique opened in Amsterdam, I believe was the MB 10
With the pendulum.
with these
stuff,
sort
the
of
gravity,
linear things. I mean, and it's such an insane. I remember they were just handing them out in the boutique for us to have a look at them. Oh. No, not quite. But I was very much like, obviously it's a really expensive watch and it's mechanically very complex, and you're thinking, oh, okay, well. And they're just like, oh yeah, try doing this. This is how you set the time. This is how the crown works, and it's completely fascinating, like what goes into it, and I think that it's become a little bit sort of easy for people to dismiss these kinds of things. But when you really get your hands on it, when you really have a look at it, and that's like definitely the pinnacle of what they do in terms of like horology. But it's genuinely impressive. Yeah. It's as impressive as anything that you could see from Lange and Patek and everything like that. I mean, it's obviously the aesthetic is very modern, but yeah, I have to say, like in terms of watchmaking, it's
and I think they're
really up there.
They recently introduced Mecca 10. Movement, is it?
I think that's the one.
Quite nice.
I think that's the one. Or is it?
No, that's
no. Sorry,
automatic movement.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Well.
Nice.
There you go. 9 reasons.
Yeah, 9 reasons.
Yeah.
And you guys have some extra ones, some honorable reasons.
No.
No.
No. But for me, because we're part of the watch industry, being media, of course. For me, it's also important. But this is a topic I think we discussed in the past as well. For me, it's always also important that the people behind the brand are nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I only have that with watches because that's my field of work. For perhaps I drive BMW, for example. I don't know if the CEO is a prick or not. I don't care that much. I'm just a consumer. But with watches, we work with this all day long, every day. So it's nice if the people behind the brand are also nice. And I have to say, at Hublot, they're always super nice. And I think that for me that counts.
Cool. Yeah, I think so as well. It's one of those brands that from the outside might seem obviously it carries this baggage, so it might seem like a little bit unapproachable. But to be honest, in my experience as well that I've had over the years, it's really just very passionate people, and a lot of whether or not they match your personal style is another thing, but I think that it's great watches, impressive watchmaking, and definitely not afraid to go out there in terms of design and doing something that genuinely stands out and stands apart from everything else out there, which is really a good thing.
If this is how we feel, then why don't we own Hublot watches?
Yeah, there's a reason. It ends in a few zeros.
Well, that is the case for me. I would I would wear one of those ceramic chronographs, the Unico Big Bang, something like that.
Yeah.
White one or the green one.
Those
I really like
summery
those.
sort of versions are just.
But they're just sort of out of my range
Yeah.
for a fun extra watch, which it would
That's the
basically
thing.
be for me.
Yeah.
I mean, there are more watches that I don't own than that I own, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of brands out there that
It's
I
the
like.
sad reality for
But
most of us.
if I would pick one, it would be a classic Fusion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
And would you seriously consider it, or?
I think it depends a bit on my state of mind, but yeah, at some point, why not? I think
you've had a couple,
to have a bit of more variety in my Speedmaster collection. I think it could be nice to have a classic Fusion at some point. And I
You rarely see a classic Fusion in Speedmaster collection.
exactly.
Yeah.
But then I need to make it my own. So then I would probably, if budget allows, go for a gold one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay. Enough with the advertising, man.
Yeah.
All
No
right.
commands.
Cut it out. Cut it
Comment
out.
of the week.
Let's let the audience have a go and see what they say.
Is the shoe remark or what
No,
is it?
Just
no.
something positive
So,
this time.
yeah, it's
or-
this- positive?
This comes from commenter Shrinik Keth, who says, "I'm supposed to be prepping for a job interview, but here I am listening to RJ and Lex
Boom.
and me." But yeah,
Yeah.
I was omitted
neglected
from the
you.
comment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
she-
just the host.
no.
It's fine. I
Yeah.
just blend into the background.
Yeah.
No, but I well, first of all, to say, hopefully the job interview went well, and
Yes.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if
Yeah, if you got it or not.
If you
Yeah.
got the job or not, we'd love to know, and hopefully,
And
if,
don't blame us if you didn't get it, but do credit us if you did get it.
Exactly. You're welcome. Apologies, and all the other potential
Yeah.
feelings that we could transmit across. Perfect. Well, thanks, guys, for this discussion. I'm kind of afraid to say this, but please leave your thoughts on Hublot in the comments down below. And as always, join us next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.
Yes.